social media or bad social media? All right, Dr. Hayes is the program director at DrDarwin Residency Program in New York. We go way back to our SNGA days when I had hair. And were you graded?
Yep.
You were great. He was already great. All right, so we're going to talk about our 10-year plan. All right, so Dr. Hayes is going to give you more insight, better instructions, some good advice on how to make your 10-year plan a reality. For those of you who are still struggling to pull it together, hopefully this will help you with making your 10-year plan become a reality. All right, so welcome, Dr. Hayes.
Now we got standing room only in the back. I think you guys thought there was going to be food here, right? Is that what it was? So thank you to Dr. Salter for inviting me back again this year. Also Dean Woods for having me. It's a pleasure to come back to Howard, back to the DMV. Spent a lot of time here, between here and Maryland, going back and forth, studying, hanging out with the Howard students. So it's great to be back. So today we're going to be talking about what Dr. Salter mentioned about your 10-year plan and parts of your 10-year plan, how to fulfill it. Before we get started, let's do this. Show of hands of class of 2018. Okay. Teal scrubs, right? And then 2019. Is it 2019? Ooh, goodness. There's going to be some fights in the room a little bit later. Okay. So good. So let's start off with a quick story. I have a lot of content to go over. I'm trying to go through it real quick. I know you guys have clinic at what, 2? 2 both? No, just the third years, right? So,
We have lab.
Yeah, lab. So let's do this. Let's just let's fast forward on a couple things here. So as Dr. Salter mentioned, program director at Bronx Lebanon Hospital. Second biggest GPR program in the country. Some other things that I've been doing, it deals with the DIA. I'm partly working with the DIA as the chair-elect of the Council of Hospitals Advanced Education Programs, co-chair of the New Dentist Conference for the NDA, CODA site visitor. That's when every 7 years schools get accredited they have site visitors for accreditation, and some other things. So I come to you guys with some experience, both as in education, but also in private practice. So, anyone know who this person is? First black valedictorian at University of Maryland. Good. Her name is Dr. Tara Poole. All right, anyone know what this number is? It's actually going to change for half of you in the class here. What's this number represent? For the D2s. 790 days until graduation. For the D3s, it's 394. Amen. All right. Not that anyone's counting or anything, but I wanted to bring that up because this is a big milestone for all of you, or will be. But before we get there, we got to start planning as part of your 10-year plan. All right, and that's what we're going to talk about today. About the 9 reasons why advanced postgraduate residency is not optional. It's not optional. All right. These viewpoints that I'm going to share with you are mine. Again, they're mine based on my experience as a former dental student, as a residency director, as a resident, and also being in private practice, hiring a new dentist like yourself. So a couple rules, all right? It is interactive. I know we're short on time. I may have to come back at another time to do a second part of it, but I want to get you guys' feedback. We're going to pass around some evaluation forms. If you would please help me with that. That way it allows me to find out a little bit more about what you guys are interested in, what you guys want to hear more about too, okay? If you don't get one, sorry, I'll come back. Participation, all right? Again, make sure you guys participate. Please feel free to ask questions. We're going to have some time at the end for some Q&A. And then also I need 10 people real quick. 10 people to put their hands up. 10 people. All right, your hand is up. All right. Somebody else? Hand up. Sorry. Anyone else? Hand up, hand up, hand up. Need 10 people. Need 4 more. All right, see one in the front. Come to the front. All right, cool. So for those of you that got a piece of paper with a number on it, when you see your number on the screen, I need you guys to shout it out. All right? Got it? Yes, yes? All right, good. So objectives, we're going to talk about why postgraduate residency is not optional. We're going to learn some information about how postgrad training impacts and influences your success in the future, how to boost your credentials, if some of you are applying for specialty programs, and also, again, the objective and purpose is to help you guys. All right, that's my personal purpose. Anyone know who this is? Usain Bolt. All right, so we're going to bolt through this content so we can get to the Q&A too. Anyone know who that is, though? It is Throwback Thursday, right? That's me back in the day at my track years at University of Virginia. All right, so let's go. So, who has number 1? You have to stand up, state your name, what year?
Chris Havlin.
Chris? Okay. So, Chris, question number 1. What do these two numbers mean? What do they have in common? 8 and 300,000.
I guess 8 is the 5 years of undergrad and dental school, and 300,000 is the total debt.
Yeah. That's why Chris is in the front row. Absolutely. Absolutely. 8 years and $300,000. That's kind of like the average. The average is about $275 based on some statistics from Medea. But guess what? The 8 years and the $300,000, guess what, guys? Doesn't even matter because it's not enough. It's not going to be enough. After you graduate and start paying down your loans, you're still going to have to spend more time. You have to spend more money in what we call lifelong learning. All right, we're part of a profession where it's lifelong learning. And I think this quote says it best. Learning is never cumulative. It's a movement of knowing which has no beginning and no end. No beginning and no end. So lifelong learning, first reason why to do a residency, to continue that path of lifelong learning. Okay? Who has number 2? Uh-oh, there's somebody else in the front row. Uh-oh. What year are you? You're TO, so that's D3. Okay. All right, so can you answer that question? What's a documented cause of root canals failing to heal?
Failing to heal?
Yep.
Or work in the first place?
For what?
Or workmanship.
For workmanship. Can anybody help them out? Miss Canals. Oh my goodness, all the time. What else?
Wrong diagnosis.
Wrong, poor diagnosis or wrong diagnosis. Who, what? Poor irrigation.
Poor restoration.
Poor restoration, too. No one said paper points. Paper points. I don't have the EBD quote, but a friend of mine, Dr. Rico Short, who's a board-certified endodontist, shared with me that there's studies that show that the cellulose fibers in paper points if they have bacteria on them, and if they're not clean, and in a sterile environment, when you go down to the apex, you are really causing some irritation. You can also cause pieces of the paper points to get dislodged and actually at the apex. Anybody know that before? Heard that before? Me either. I've been practicing for 20 years. So that takes me to my point, the second point. You don't know what you don't know until you encounter a situation where you realize you don't know. Even right now, you guys are getting a foundation of some information. But when you get out and go into private practice, there's going to be some situations where you're like, oh, I didn't know that. So that's one of the reasons to do a residency, because there's going to be times where you're going to be in that situation, but the residency environment is the best time to be able to mitigate and learn those things that you don't know, right? Because when you're in private practice and you're cutting preps and doing procedure, that's your license. So if you don't know it, you got to figure it out real quick. But residency gives you some more time to hone your skills and learn about the things that you don't know and discover those things. All right, number 3. Who has number 3? Man is studying. Got his jacket on, laptop up. What's your name?
Daryl Tarver.
Daryl Tarver.
Yes, sir.
Third year.
Third year.
Okay, cool. You ever seen this movie before? You ever heard this Jerry Maguire movie?
Show me the money.
Show Me the Money? Dang, you too. How does that work though? From the first to the okay, that works. Okay. So for those of you that don't know the movie, Cooper Gooding Jr. is a professional football player, and he's being touted by this agent. And this agent is really, really trying to get him to sign with him. So Cooper starts playing a little game with him, making Jerry Maguire do any and everything he says to do to get him signed. So insert Tom Cruise, and he says he follows what he follows what Cooper says and starts shouting out, "Show me the money, show me the money, show me the money." This is what you guys are going to be able to do when you do a residency. Get paid. Right? Because this is going to be the first and the last time you're going to get paid to learn. The first and the last time you're going to get paid to learn. Another reason why doing a residency is not optional. Okay, number 4. Who has number 4? Sharice?
Yes.
Sharice, okay. So, Sharice, are you a member of any student-run organizations or organized dentistry here at the school? AWD, right? Okay, anything else? No, not yet. You've been too busy studying, right? Anyone a member of AGD? Is there an AGD chapter here? Academy of General Dentistry? College of Prosthodontics? Okay. So, as a resident, whether you do a GPR or you do an AEGD, if you're a member of the AGD, you get 30% of your continuing education credits are given to you towards your fellowship. A fellowship is a distinction from the Academy of General Dentistry that only about 10% or 12% of all general dentists throughout the country have. All right. So for those of you that are continuing education junkies like I was when I was a student and also as a resident, to get this distinction, not everyone has it, but also it's a distinction that you can market to your patients. All right. Take home is doing a residency, you're going to be involved with a lot of CE through curriculums that you're going to be having, through your GPR, your AEGD program, all of which are learning opportunities that, again, goes back to my first point as far as lifelong learning. Okay? Usually to accumulate for 1 year of post-grad residency, you usually get up to about 150 hours. To do that in private practice, depending on what CEs you're taking, it may take you a couple years to do that. Doing a residency helps to kind of jumpstart that process. Okay? Number 5. Who has number 5? You guys speak up because you're way in the back. D3? Okay. So, this is your question. What is the average salary in the U.S.? 40 what? 45. Is that your final answer? You want to phone a friend? 45. Anyone else have an answer? 57. 56. It is an answer. $1, right? 50,000? 29,000? All right, let's see. Actually, it's 47,000. So someone else said that. She did, yeah. So good. What year are you? Huh? Third year. Okay, I got something for you. So you're right on. So wait a minute. Part 2 of the question is this though. You can double down here. So what do you make now as a D3? It amazes me. Every time we talk about money, the room lights up. 0, right? Negative. So in a residency, you guys will receive a stipend or a salary up to about $60,000. Where I'm at Bronx, Lebanon, our first year residents, it's about $61,574. And in addition to that, you have benefits and some paid vacations. All right? You guys have vacations here? Yeah, of course. Breaks and stuff like that, right? But you're not getting paid for them, though, right? As a resident, you'll have 4 weeks of paid vacation. You'll have some holidays off. At Bronx, Lebanon, we have 8 holidays off. You have time for board leave or board exams. And you also have time for continuing education. If you're doing interviews or you want to go to a conference, all that's paid for. Now, here's the switch. This is what happens when you leave residency or you leave dental school. You get paid on a percentage of what you do on a daily basis, or maybe a per diem. That's when you're in the office. When you're out of the office, how do you get paid? You don't, right? So taking advantage of maybe doing a residency, again, allows you the opportunity to be able to continue to learn and get paid for it. All right, so I guess that's really my take home, that it'll cost you more time and money after residency, so make the best of it during your residency. Okay? Who has number 6? Hey. What's your first name? Liz. Elizabeth. All right, Elizabeth. Have you heard of this game before, Monopoly? Yes, sir. Yeah? How do you play Monopoly? What's the strategy with Monopoly?
You're basically trying to create a monopoly by getting all of the properties and owning all of the real estate on the board, making your competitors go out of commission.
Okay. And what do you do? What happens? How are you rewarded every time you go around the board?
Every $200 that you can pass out.
So, one of the things that's common with Monopoly is that, like she said, when you go around this board, you get $200. It gets received to you. As a resident, it's the reverse, in the sense that you don't have to pay any money. You get a chance to defer your loans for several years. It could be, not several years, several months. Could be 18 months, could be 30 months. That gives you some time to also explore some employment opportunities. Also, in some residencies, when you finish, if you are considering becoming an attending, some hospitals or some programs are designated from the government as federally qualified health centers, which means that if you're attending faculty and you're working, not only will you get a base salary, but the government will also give anywhere from $30,000 to $40,000 every year that you're under contract towards your loans. All right? Not all residency programs will have that after you graduate, But again, it's something to consider because right now you guys are paying how much to be here at Howard? How much? $90,000 a year times 4, so that's $360. Now, 4 years on contract with maybe if you're serving underserved populations, maybe a contract maybe 4 years, 4 times 30, 120. You know, it's maybe 1/3 of your loan debt, but it's better than nothing, right? So just something to consider as you guys are considering residency programs. Some of them have this option. Number seven. Oh, she's standing up, coming to the front. Everything. D2. So I'm sure you can pick out your school, right? But there's several other schools that are here too. All these schools represent residents that we have that are alums of these different types of school at Bronx 7. All right. So one of the strengths of our particular program is basically this list. These lists of all these schools that we have residents from. And why is the strength of the program really affects you as a resident too? Because as a resident, you're going to be able to have the ability to network and learn from other colleagues from diverse populations and backgrounds, learn different techniques, right? Not everyone teaches the same way how to cut a class 1 or how to do denture setup and things like that. Different schools have different techniques, all of which you'll have a chance to learn and be able to be exposed to, okay? Also, you'll have some opportunities to have some one-on-one mentorship, depending on the size of the program and how many attendings are there. That one-on-one mentorship is very, very key. All right, I know you guys get some of that, especially with Dr. Salter. I hear there's a line for the basement clinic, right, where he is. Some of you probably leaving out of here soon so you can go get in line with him. Right? But that's one of the pluses of a residency, being able to have a little bit more of a one-on-one mentorship with faculty. Speaking of faculty, who has number 8? Okay, so you said Nakia?
Yes.
Nakia. So are you interested in specializing, or do you know yet?
I'm not interested.
Quick show of hands, who's interested in specializing? That wants to tell, that wants to divulge it. Yeah? What are you interested in? What specialty are you thinking about? Ortho? Someone else had their hand up? Peds? Yep, another top 3 or top 4 program. What about endo? Anybody endo? You guys are worn out with Dr. Smith, huh? You're probably wondering, how do I know about Dr. Smith? I know about Dr. Smith here at Howard. But at Bronx Lebanon, in most residency programs, you'll have a whole list, hopefully, maybe, of specialty faculty members that are there to help you, all right, with certain procedures. And also what's valuable is these people can be a really great resource for those that are applying or thinking about pedo or ortho, all right? They can be the people that can write letters of recommendation for you, okay? And just pretty much kind of start to filter and hone that relationship with them. So what's nice about doing a residency is that you'll have some rotations and comprehensive care experiences that add a lot of value, but also that'll give you some content for your specialty applications. All right, not everyone's going to be number 1, number 2, or number 3 in the class. So how are you going to differentiate yourself if you're thinking about specializing? Doing a GPR or AGD will give you that opportunity because not only will you have more opportunities to do more procedures, but you have more contact with faculty who can assess and write you some great letters of recommendations. All right. Also, what's great about having specialty programs in your residency or faculty is being able to prepare yourself for private practice. How many people are going to go right into private practice after graduating in 94 days. Right? No, someone's shaking their head like, no, I'm not ready. No. Okay, all right. But at some point, you guys are going to go into private practice. One of the things I recommend to our residents is as they are completing the requirements for the residency program, we want them to make sure they start taking pictures of cases that they're working on. Start documenting those cases. Because as an employer, when we are looking to hire new dentists, we want to know what you guys know. All right, yeah, we know everyone in the room is going to graduate, but we don't know how you are clinically. The GPR helps, but also having a portfolio of the cases that you're working on helps also. So I put this number, this is a slide, this is probably the slide of the day for those of you that are thinking about specialty programs. This is some data that was taken from ADIA last year on the entering class for GPRs and other specialty programs in 15-16. The key thing I want you guys to look at is these numbers here, these numbers of applicants. So, who said ortho? Where's the guy in the back? Ortho. So, look, man, this is your competition right here. Close to 11,000 people for 375 spots. About 3%. How are you going to differentiate yourself from all those applicants? And some specialties, like pedo, they're looking for people that actually do GPRs, that have some experience. All right? They're looking for that. It's key. This is another reason why doing a postgrad residency, GPR, AGD is helpful, because with all these people that are enrolled based on who's applying for these slots here, you've got to figure out a way to differentiate yourself and get yourself, what I call, out of obscurity, to be known. Doing a GPR helps to do that, but also putting cases together that you're working on that you can present helps also. Okay? Employers, like I mentioned also, a lot of employers are interested in knowing what has your experience been after graduating. They want to partner up with people that have done some form of residency. Some offices won't even hire you. They won't even look at your CV unless you've done some kind of post-grad training, right? Someone shaking their head, yeah. A lot of offices, okay? So keep that in mind. Number 9. Who has number 9? Front row, okay? So what does PAP stand for?
That's my name.
I'm sorry. Hold on, let me go back. Hold on. All right, who has number 9?
I'm Taylor Jackson.
Hey, Taylor.
Me too.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Where are you from, Taylor?
I'm from Maryland.
Maryland. What part of that? Bowie. Awesome. So Taylor Jackson
Yes.
from Bowie, Maryland area. D2. In the second row. What does PAP stand for? What is that? Okay. All right. That's your final answer? Good. So it does mean periapical pathology or pathosis. But for us, right now, it means personal and professional development. This here, guys, is probably one of the main reasons, the most important reason for doing a residency, I think, is that you're going to be learning a lot about yourself during this time. At the same time, you're going to be learning about what you like to do, what you're struggling with, what you need more help with, how to interact and deal with patients, right? A lot of the challenges I find a lot of new dentists have is interacting with patients, getting patients to say yes to treatment, right? There's usually 3 things that are top barriers for patients. What are they? Money, time, I heard it, pain, all right? And I know you guys have those challenges here in dental school because we all have had them, especially the time, the money, and the fear or the anxiety. Doing the residency is another year of learning how to manage that, working with attendings that have their own practices, either currently or in the past, and they can share with you as you're learning in the residency how to manage that, how to get patients to say yes, how to develop those relationships with patients. Because one thing that happens when you leave dental school is it's not just a requirement anymore, right? You see a patient, you can't just look at them like, oh yeah, Miss Jones. Oh, denture, Miss Jones. Yeah, that's my denture requirement. It's totally different when you leave here, okay? So that's one of the things that's nice about doing a residency, having the opportunity to develop personally and also professionally. One of the things that we have at Bronx Lebanon, as part of our curriculum, we have an oral health leadership development program. We just recently, back 2 years ago, got a $3.5 million grant from HRSA, where we continue to teach you guys how to be leaders. You guys are all leaders in this room. All right, you guys wouldn't be here if you weren't. But part of the program, our curriculum, we teach you how, part of the curriculum, we have experts that come in, management, consulting experts, to teach you how to interview, how to deal with inter-office conflicts with patients, also with staff members. Everyone is assigned a mentor through this program, so they help you with your 10-year plan, your 5-year plan, all right? Outside, if you weren't a resident at Bronx Lebanon, you're looking at probably about $10,000, $15,000 just to do this program. For you as a resident, it's free. It's part of our curriculum because we're dedicated and want to make sure that you guys are serving the population, but know how to also start getting some more information on how to run offices and dealing with the day-to-day things, things about practice management. Because guess what, guys and ladies? The dentistry is easy. It's the daggone patients and the staff members and the regulations that's a pain in the... All right? So that's a program that we have at Bronx Lab. Personal growth. I don't know if you guys have heard of Jim Rohn before. It's known as the godfather of personal development. Of all the things that have an effect on your future, I believe personal growth is the greatest. We can talk about sales growth, asset growth, profit growth, but all of this probably would not happen without personal growth. All right? I know you guys don't have time to do personal development like readings because you're studying so much, but as a new dentist, it's very, very important to start doing that, to get back into making yourself better, right, and growing as an individual. Practice doesn't make perfect, but it just makes you better. Again, reason why you're doing a residency, to hone your skills. How many, for the D3s, this was your first year in clinic, right? So how many, just show of hands real quick. I'm sorry, I'm not going to pick on you, but who's D3? All right, gentlemen by the door. How many root canals have you done so far this year? Zero. That daggone Dr. Smith, boy, I tell you. Dad, he starts early, doesn't he? Zero. Okay. Well, hopefully it won't. Today might be a change today. Yeah, today's a new day. But I say that because your experience here as a student is very limited. You need more time, more exposure, more root canals, more crazy behind patients to deal with, all right, to hone your skills, to be able to treat them better, all right? So some takeaways. So we were talking about education and learning. We talked about the 9 reasons. We're going to talk about these last couple of bullet points right now. So one of my favorite quotes as relates to learning, teaching, and mentoring is this one from Ben Franklin. Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I may remember. But involve me and I learn. Or I'll learn. Again, depending on, as new dentists, depending on what school you go to, you may have one instructor for 10 people. Right? There's not a lot of one-on-one interaction. At our residency program, we We have 29 GPs. We have 5 oral surgeons, 5 orthodontists, 1 endodontist, 2 periodontists. So the ratio of faculty to residents, we have 38 residents. The ratio of faculty to residents is pretty much like 1-to-1. So when you're working in that environment, we're right here together. Sounds no waiting for a signature, not waiting for 10 other people, all that kind of stuff, all right? But what that does is it allows you to be more involved in that process, that whole learning process. That's why I love this quote for you all as new dentists. Okay? So we talked about all these different reasons, 1 through 9. Thank you for participating. Again, why? Why are we talking about this? Why is this so important? Why did Dr. Salter invite me back and want to make sure that you guys get this content? She said knowledge is power. Absolutely. Absolutely. But we also want to make sure that you guys are the best dentists and you're able to have the capacity and the skill set and the experience so you guys can be the best ever. All right? Especially with $300,000 a day. Right? It's important. That's not only the only reason, but it's important. Most of our learning comes from out of our failures, not from our successes. I think that's a true statement. I think you tend to learn more when you fail. You're a little bit more hungry, a little bit more determined. But there's another quote. To succeed, you must fail a few times, but do not fail yourself into thinking that postgrad residency is optional. Just my biased opinion. It's not optional, guys. All right? Success comes to those that plan and do. The action of doing is the most important. And I'm guilty of this. I have a lot of ideas at times over the last 10, 15 years. A lot of ideas. But those ideas don't mean anything if I don't execute them. If you don't execute your plan of action and get it done and do it, doesn't mean anything. All right? Doesn't mean anything. So my charge to you, to everyone in this room, in 394 days and 795 days, do a postgrad residency. Did I say that? Did I say that already? Do a postgrad residency. So, I'm going to end off with this. You guys are my passion. I was lucky to have some great mentors in dental school. Actually, my uncle's is a dentist. My dad's a dental technician. But that wasn't my path. When I started out, I was an architect. I was an architect major from University of Virginia. And along the way, when I switched over to dentistry, just very lucky to have my uncle as a mentor, a couple of people that I worked for as an associate. They were great mentors. And like I said, in dental school also. So I understand the importance of having great mentors and people that have given back to me. So I want to be your resource, be your help, your GPS through this whole process. Because it's a lot. Like I said, after a while, the dentistry it's very easy. It's all the other things, the planning and the execution that takes time and takes the ability to have some collaborate and have some relationships with other people that can show you the way. All right. So again, you know what to do. Do a postgrad residency. It's not optional. All right, so we kind of bolted through that, but I think you guys got the key takeaways as an introduction. What I want to do now is we've got some time for Q&A. I think this is probably one of the most valuable parts of this presentation. And I may have to come back and do a presentation just on some of the questions I think you guys may have if you're thinking about doing a residency. I know for the second years or the rising third years, You guys are just thinking about exams right now, I know. Third years is probably a little bit more suited for you guys. So, questions? Yes. Say it out so we can all hear you.
You work for a GPR, correct? So you obviously have a bias towards some GPR. What do you think are the advantages and disadvantages of GPR versus AGD?
The main difference between the two is just that AGDs are typically school-based and GPRs are more hospital-based. So that's one difference. Second difference is that with GPRs, it's mandatory that you have these 2 rotations you have to have as part of CODA, the Commission on Dental Accreditation. Those 2 requirements is that you have to have 2 weeks of anesthesia rotation at the hospital. All right. So for our residents, what they do is they shadow with the anesthesiologist. They start some IVs. They do intubations, both live and also on a simulator. Okay. And you're learning how to manage an open airway for those patients that are getting treatment, whether it be knee replacement, pregnancy, having delivering babies, whatever it is. So that's one mandatory rotation. The second one is family medicine or internal medicine or emergency medicine. Again, you have to have 2 weeks of that rotation as a CODA-approved GPR program. Unfortunately, right now, as it stands, there is not like a guidebook to all the GPR and AGD programs. ADIA, I think, is in the process of putting something together. But for a lot of these programs, for the third years, I'm talking to more specifically, for a lot of these programs, you have to go onto ADIA, onto the ADIA Pass location website to find out more about these programs. Even when you do that, some of them may have websites, some may not. And even the information that you get from the websites is not going to give a complete picture of what you're looking for. So keep that in mind as you're looking at different programs. So, great question. Yes?
What would you say are like the top 3 important things to look at when looking at programs? I know a lot of people focus on location, but beyond that, like, what would you say?
So her question is, what are the top three things to look for in a program? So you hit on number 1, location. Where are you from?
I'm from Louisiana.
Louisiana. Have you been to Seattle before?
No.
So you probably don't want to look for a program in Seattle. Maybe, I don't know. It all depends on where you're from and where you're thinking you want to practice in the future. All right? So location is always important. Also, one of the things I always tell new dentists, when you're looking at programs, you want to look at programs where you have some connection to. All right? Connection to meaning who in the 4th year class, D4 class, is going to a program and where is the program? So you can actually get some more information from them and find out. Because like I said, there's not a big database or guidebook right now of all the different programs, the strengths, the weaknesses. It's pretty generic. But if you have somebody from Howard that has done a residency program at maybe Tulane or LSU, actually LSU has 2 programs. They have a GPR and an AGD program. Dr. Briscoe, remind me to tell you Dr. Briscoe. They have a program there, but if you have a resident, you have a former alum that's down there or is going there, that's a great opportunity to find out more about the program. So if you have a connection, that's the second thing. What's the third thing? The third thing really involves you going to see if it's a good fit for you. All right? Just in New York, where I am in the Bronx, there's about, between the Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, there's at least 10 or 15 residency programs. And just because they're in New York doesn't mean we're all the same. Okay? Some are small, as far as 5 or 6 residents, and then some are a lot bigger, like our program, 38, and actually Montefiore Hospital has 57. I still don't know how they do that, But all the programs are not the same. So I say that to say that if you have a couple of locations or programs that you've identified that you may be interested in, you want to put on your list, you need to go visit the programs. You need to go visit the programs, all right? Because lots of times what's on the website is just a small snapshot of what the program really is like. So usually the best time is, usually you guys have a break coming up for D3s, D4s. If there's a break during the summertime, there's no clinic or something, right? That's probably the best time. That's the time I usually recommend. If you have a window between clinics for the summer, go to those programs. Once you've identified and come up with a list based on your location, based on maybe another alumnus or a D4 that's going to a program, once you've identified a couple of programs that you're interested in, go visit. Do your due diligence. Find out more about them. Because just like we're going to be interested in you, we want you to make sure that this is going to be the place for you. All right? Because you're going to be there for 365 days. All right? Is that helpful? Cool. Good. Another question. Probably more so the D3. No, that's D2. Okay. Good.
Do all of the GPR programs or AGD programs pay for you to go?
That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure if they do. I would tell you if they don't pay,
Don't go.
we're not going. I mean, because how are you going to live, right? How are you going to live for 365 days? So, but I think most of them do pay, depending on the location where they are. Some may pay not as high as $62,000, but it just depends on the cost of living and where you're looking at programs. Now, there are some residency programs for like specialty programs where you do have to pay. There's some ortho programs that are like that. There's some pedo programs that are like that where you actually have to pay as a resident. So it just depends on what your circumstances are and what your support is like too. Yep, that's another question. Taylor, Jackson, from Bowie.
You're not noticing it.
Nope.
What are the 3 biggest things you look for in applicants, students applying?
So her question is, what are the 3 biggest things we look at, or some program directors look at, for applicants that apply? I quite honestly want you guys to, I would recommend that you apply early. All right? That tells us a little bit about your character, about your planning process, your thought process, and getting things organized. Another thing we look at is basically just whether it's a fit. Most programs will have a mission or purpose, and if your goals and aspirations are in alignment with that program's mission, it's great. All right. Like for us at Bronx Lebanon, what part of our mission is serving our area, patients that are in our area, because we're known as like a safety net hospital. Anyone know what a safety net means? It's a hospital that usually will see patients who have different types of insurances that are not typically covered or accepted by practitioners. A lot of those patients also are uninsured. Some have Medicaid or Medicare. All right, so we're pretty much like the last resort for a lot of those patients. So we have a lot of patients that we service. That's part of our mission. All right, so if your mission, your personal or professional mission is in alignment with the programs, that's great. So you may be asked, what do you know about the program as it relates to the mission of the program? You want to be able to articulate that if that's part of your personal mission or professional mission. Yes, in the back.
Would you say there's an added benefit from doing a 2-year GPR because I know there are 1-year GPRs and 2-year GPRs.
Right. So her question is about, is there an added benefit of doing a second year? What do you think?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, even after doing a 1-year GPR or AGD program, there's still going to be a lot of things that you don't know that you don't know. right? So it's more clinical, more hands-on. Right now, how many patients a day do you guys see? D3s? 2? So one this morning and one in a couple minutes, right? So typically in a residency program, I'll speak more on mine, you'll see anywhere from 10 to 12 patients a day. Hey, real talk, 10 to 12 patients a day. And usually that's one of the biggest questions that we have from applicants is, how do we see those many patients? It gets worked out. You guys, we get you underneath our wing and we get you transitioned to be able to do that. All right. So doing a second year again gets you more apt to getting ready to transition into private practice or even residency where they see a lot of patients like ortho. You might have, depending on the program, you might see 3 or 4 patients in the morning, another 3 or 4 patients in the afternoon, depending on the program. So another question, how are we on time, Doc? We're getting close. Last question. Okay.
For those of us participating in the math process, is there any particular strategy you recommend?
So for those people that are participating in match process, what's the strategy we're asking, right? So again, like I mentioned about the applying and what program directors look for, with match, you got to start early. You got to start early. So you got teal on, so you're D3. So match opens up, not match, but pass opens up on graduation. When's graduation here? May 13th. So pass opens up May 17th. So the earlier the better, especially for those of you that are D3s that are thinking about specialty programs. Some programs, their deadline is like August 1st or even July 1st. So you're forced to really make that decision and start getting your documents together because of that deadline. As far as match is concerned, and maybe I'll come back and have a whole other presentation about match. But with match, I always tell new dentists, candidates, if you have a place, if you have 5 programs and you have 5 interviews, you went to all those interviews, and you have 1 or 2 programs you just are not feeling, you just don't like it, or just for whatever reason, it's just not as warm and fuzzy, do not put them on your match list. Do not put them on your match list. Because those last 2 programs, you have the opportunity of matching there if the first 3 don't come through. So now you're going to be stuck at a place that maybe you just maybe don't want to be at. All right? That's just my personal opinion. It may be different if you ask other program directors, but I think you do better being at a place where you want to be versus somewhere you don't want to be. And there's a whole process even after match called post-match, where depending on what program you are applying to, there may be, lots of times there's a lot of positions that have not been filled through the match, and you can get a post-match position. Some people, I've had a couple of candidates, applicants actually wait until the post-match to be real aggressive. Again, you take your chances depending on what program you're interested in. There may not be any post-match positions. So it's a kind of a risk that you take. All right, but that's a good question. So start early and tend to not rank those places that you're not too warm and fuzzy about. Because through the match, you sign a contract with match. And if number 5 and you match up, guess where you're going? You're going to Seattle. All right? Sorry for anybody who's from Seattle. I'm just... Mississippi. So, guys, again, thank you for your time. If you need to contact me, hopefully I'll be able to come back sometime in the future. If you have more questions, you can email me, newdentistcoach@gmail.com. I have some business cards up front. Anyone else that has some more questions, if you want to talk one-on-one, I'll be here for at least another hour or so. And Good luck.
I have the preliminary grades from your project. I'm waiting on 2 more people, but I kind of read through it myself, so we'll see if we're matched up with the judge. Real quickly, first things first, have a good summer. Good luck in the class. You know where I'm going to be. I'm going to be in the Dodging all summer, so I won't get to see you as much. But good luck, and if I can help you guys out with anything transitioning to the clinic, let me know. Those of you who got an A in operative lab, and you know what I always say, have been
All right,
a good
we're
character,
done. We
send
out.
me a